Michel Brière landed in Pittsburgh like a soft-spoken superstar in the making, so unassuming that many barely noticed him until he was slicing through defenders, setting up goals with effortless precision. He was a rookie who seemed destined to lift a city's spirit, transforming the Penguins from underdogs into contenders. Fans felt they were witnessing something legendary, a player whose skill burned bright enough to reshape an entire franchise. Then, out of nowhere, came tragedy, a devastating blow that froze the magic before it ever fully blossomed. One season of brilliance, stolen by fate, leaving behind only memories and the aching question, what if he had played longer? This is Michel Brière's story, a haunting tale of promise, heartbreak, and a glimmer of what might have been. Michel Brière was born on October 21st, 1949, in Malartic, Quebec. He was raised in a setting that intertwined the ruggedness of mining town life with Canada's deep cultural reverence for hockey. By the time he was a teenager, he had developed a fluid skating stride and an uncanny sense of anticipation on the ice, two traits that would later define him when he stepped into the bright lights of the National Hockey League. Wherever Brière went, teammates and rivals noted how deftly he could react to a developing play, reading opponents as though they were telegraphing their moves in slow motion. There wasn't much flash in his personality off the ice. He was known instead for a quiet determination that fueled his every shift, every shot, and every chance to compete. That unassuming grit would carry him all the way to the Pittsburgh Penguins, setting the stage for one of the league's most poignant what-if stories. Growing up, Brière spent countless hours on outdoor rinks, sometimes braving harsh winter evenings to refine his puck handling and passing. He watched televised NHL games with the intensity of a student, absorbing the skill sets of his heroes, and imagining what it might be like to measure himself against them someday. Encouraged by local coaches who recognized his innate feel for the game, Brière joined youth leagues in his region, quickly establishing himself as an up-and-coming forward who could both orchestrate and finish plays. While many young talents of the era aimed to stand out through brute force or flamboyant moves, Brière's approach was more cerebral. He played with his head on a swivel, analyzing angles, seeking open ice, and often surprising goaltenders with shots taken a half-second earlier or later than they expected. His path to the major junior level came through the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League, QMJHL, which served as a springboard for numerous future NHL players. During these formative years, he wore the jersey of the Shawinigan Bruins, carving out an identity as a forward of exceptional vision. He orchestrated passing sequences that dissected defenses, always seeming to know where to place the puck so that a teammate would receive it in stride. At the time, the QMJHL was a hotbed for offensive talent, featuring high-scoring games that tested a player's ability to thrive under relentless pace. Brière's numbers, though solid, didn't necessarily leap off the stat sheet in the manner of a Guy Lafleur or Marcel Dion, but insiders noticed how he elevated the performances of those around him. Opposing coaches warned their defenders that if they gave Brière even a sliver of open space, he'd thread a pass behind them or flick a quick shot on net. During his final QMJHL season, scouts from multiple NHL teams made increasingly frequent visits to watch the young forward. The Pittsburgh Penguins, an expansion franchise that had joined the league in the 1967-68 season, were particularly intrigued. They needed creative centers who could jumpstart their offense, and Brière seemed to fit that mold almost perfectly. In 1969, the Penguins used a third-round pick to select him, banking on his subtle but impactful style of play. He was a bit undersized, standing at around 5'11", and weighing around 160 pounds, leading some to question whether he could handle the NHL's physical grind. Yet the Penguins brass believed his hockey sense and calm under pressure might translate seamlessly to the pro level. When Brière first arrived at Pittsburgh's training camp in the fall of 1969, coaches weren't quite sure what to expect. The team was still finding its footing in an NHL world largely dominated by original six stalwarts like the Montreal Canadiens, Toronto Maple Leafs, and Boston Bruins. The Penguins' initial rosters included journeymen and cast-offs from other organizations, plus a smattering of youth prospects. Brière, quiet and unassuming in the locker room, didn't waste time impressing on the ice. The coaching staff marveled at how quickly he processed the game. He would receive a pass, glance around as if mapping the entire rink in an instant, and then deliver the puck to a teammate in prime scoring position. During scrimmages, even veteran defensemen found themselves chasing him in circles. Preseason exhibitions confirmed that Brière had the mettle for NHL competition. He avoided big hits by anticipating them, turning away at the last possible moment, or shifting the puck to a teammate before a heavy check could land. While some rookies floundered when confronted by the league's pace and physicality, Brière displayed a poise that belied his age. His biggest test came against established enforcers who tried to rattle him with borderline hits. Yet, time after time, he'd bounce back, reset himself, and keep moving. This determined resilience convinced the Penguins staff that not only would Brière survive in the NHL, he might even thrive. When the 1969-70 season began, Brière officially cracked the Penguins lineup, donning the blue and white sweater for the first time in a regular season game. Pittsburgh fans, still learning the ins and outs of pro hockey after only 2 years with the franchise, latched onto the newcomer's style. They saw glimpses of a methodical playmaker, someone who consistently improved the players around him. In a league that prized flamboyant superstars, names like Bobby Hull, Phil Esposito, and Gordie Howe, Brière wasn't a highlight machine who unleashed blistering slapshots every shift. Rather, his impact was more subtle, weaving the puck around defenders, outsmarting them with a carefully placed pass or a quick-wristed release that seemingly came out of nowhere. By mid-season, it was clear he had become one of the team's most reliable contributors. He recorded assists at a steady clip, quietly climbing the rookie scoring list. Despite the Penguins languishing in the lower half of the standings, Brière provided a spark whenever he took the ice. While coaches tried various line combinations, they often found that placing Brière between a physical winger and a sniper maximized each player's abilities. The physical winger created space by driving defenders back. The sniper capitalized on the perfect feed Brière delivered. He rarely took a shot unless he believed it was the best possible option, a trait that sometimes led fans to wish he'd be more selfish. Coaches, though, praised him for reading the ice and making high-percentage plays. As the regular season wound down, the Penguins found themselves within striking distance of a playoff berth. Although they hadn't been considered serious contenders at the season's start, a combination of improbable comebacks and late-season heroics thrust them into the postseason conversation. In the dressing room, Brière took to the pressure with surprising calm. He wasn't known for dramatic locker room speeches, but whenever a high-stakes game was on the line, he'd often gather linemates and quietly emphasize the need for crisp breakouts, smart zone entries, and patience in waiting for the right scoring chance. In a league where many rookies tried to prove themselves by going all out on every shift, Brière's measured approach was rare. When the Penguins finally clinched a playoff spot, fans in Pittsburgh were delirious. Their new team, overshadowed by the Pittsburgh Steelers' budding NFL success and the storied Pirates in baseball, suddenly had a postseason to look forward to. Brière entered the playoffs as one of the key figures in the Penguins' quest to pull off an underdog run. In the first round, they faced the Oakland Seals, another expansion-era team also hungry for a foothold in the league's hierarchy. Brière immediately rose to the challenge, using the extra intensity of playoff hockey to his advantage. Opponents, unaccustomed to facing him, found themselves outmaneuvered by his quick passing. He set up goals that proved decisive in squeaking out close victories. The Penguins advanced to the next round, fueling talk of a Cinderella story. Though the entire team shared in the success, local press singled out Brière's composure for praise. He wasn't piling up points at a record-breaking pace, but each one of his shifts seemed to tilt the ice in Pittsburgh's favor. Broadcasters covering the series lauded his veteran-like savvy, remarking that if he continued on this trajectory, he could become one of the league's elite centers. The city, enthralled by the team's improbable run, pinned many of their hopes on his shoulders. Even after the Penguins were eventually knocked out by a stronger opponent, some accounts say it was the Saints. Louis Blues, others mention a different bracket scenario. His stock only rose. Everyone from fans to coaches to media believed the best was yet to come. Over the summer of 1970, Brière returned to Quebec to spend time with family, celebrate a strong rookie campaign, and reset for what everyone expected to be an even better sophomore season. The Penguins' front office had big plans. They hoped to sign him to a solid contract extension, solidifying him as one of their cornerstones. Perhaps they'd acquire a scoring winger or two to complement him. The talk of a French Connection style line in Pittsburgh started brewing, and sports columnists penned articles titled Brière's Next Step or Michel Brière, the Face of Penguins' Future. All of these possibilities ground to a halt in May 1970 when catastrophic tragedy struck. Brière was involved in a single-car crash in Quebec that left him with severe head injuries. The details were initially sparse. Some local newspapers reported he lost control on a winding road. Others mentioned slick conditions. Regardless of the cause, the result was the same. Brière lay in a hospital bed, comatose, his career and life in jeopardy. Back in Pittsburgh, news of the accident hit the organization like a punch to the gut. His coaches, just days before discussing how to tweak the offense around him, were now wondering if he would ever regain consciousness. Teammates, reeling from shock, reached out to the family for updates, some even traveling to Quebec to offer support. Media outlets that had recently lauded Brière as the Penguins' bright star pivoted to somber speculation about whether he'd survive. For months, the hockey world followed the updates with a mixture of dread and faint hope. Medical bulletins offered little in the way of optimism. He remained unresponsive, subject to multiple surgeries, with doctors unsure if there was any chance of neurological recovery. The Penguins dedicated part of their training camp to Brière's memory, wearing a symbolic patch on their jerseys. During the 1970-71 NHL season, the team played on, though a distinct pall hung over the locker room. Occasional references in post-game interviews to "doing it for Michel" became standard, but the heartbreak lingered, especially among younger players who'd idolized him as the quiet but brilliant anchor of the roster. As winter gave way to spring, hopes for a miracle steadily waned. The Penguins organization, the city, and hockey fans at large recognized that Brière's condition had stabilized, but showed no real signs of improvement. Then, in the early months of 1971, his situation worsened again, culminating in his passing on April 13, 1971, though some records differ on the exact date he was officially declared deceased. The emotional toll was enormous. The Penguins not only lost a teammate, they lost the prospect of an entire era, potentially defined by his leadership. The tragedy overshadowed the end of the regular season and the playoffs. Tributes poured in from across the NHL, with opponents acknowledging how they had looked forward to seeing his artistry develop over the next decade. The cultural impact of his story cannot be overstated. Pittsburgh was not traditionally a hockey hotbed, overshadowed by the football-mad Steelers and the baseball-savvy Pirates. Brière's electrifying play in that rookie season helped nudge local interest in hockey upward. People who might never have followed the Penguins found themselves drawn to the nuanced brilliance of a quiet, young center from Quebec. When his life ended abruptly, it crystallized a sense of heartbreak that the franchise carried for years, possibly influencing how the team recruited and developed talent. Some even argued that the Penguins, deep down, tried to find the next Michel Brière, with every draft pick spent on a crafty two-way center. It was a longing for a presence that had burned brightly for a scant number of games. Within NHL circles, Brière remains a figure of quiet reverence, occasionally mentioned during broadcasts that touch on stories of unfulfilled promise. Younger fans might not immediately recognize his name, overshadowed as it is by modern greats, or even by other tragedies that claimed more prominent stars. Still, among longtime observers of the league, the memory of how Michel Brière played that single season in Pittsburgh endures as a testament to how ephemeral success can be. Some older Penguins fans recount that they first fell in love with hockey watching Brière slip passes through defenders' legs or roof a quick shot in close. His approach embodied a raw love for the game, unburdened by ego or posturing. In the final analysis, Michel Brière's hockey career, though tragically brief, was deeply impactful. He demonstrated what it meant to step into the NHL with humility, yet also with an unshakable trust in one's skill set. No matter the adversity on the ice, bigger, stronger opponents, a team struggling to find consistency, he remained calm, methodical, and quietly confident. His playoff heroics for the Penguins in 1970 and the wave of optimism he brought to a franchise in dire need of bright spots stand as enduring elements of Pittsburgh's hockey identity. That identity would, in time, be shaped by other icons: Mario Lemieux, Jaromir Jagr, Sidney Crosby, Evgeny Malkin, but Brière set a precedent for how a single skilled forward could mesmerize an entire city. And so, Michel Brière's hockey career, though tragically brief, endures as a powerful testament to promise unfulfilled, to the ephemeral nature of sports glory, and to the deep bonds that form within a team. In that single season, he proved enough to command admiration, to show the city of Pittsburgh a glimpse of greatness, and to spark a devotion that lingers to this day. The Penguins, in silent tribute, let no one wear the number 21, a quiet but deeply meaningful act that resonates across the decades. If there's any solace, it might be that the love and respect he earned in that one short year have persisted, encapsulating him forever in the collective memory of an organization and its fans. He may have left us too soon, but Michel Brière's story remains a bright, bittersweet chapter in the vast anthology of hockey history.